They told him it was just another bomber. And yeah, that was Cap from day one. Staff Sergeant Leo Martinez knew it the second the bus rolled through the last checkpoint. Way past the "you're definitely not supposed to be here" signs, and that blacked-out hangar came into view. It didn't look like a normal Air Force hangar. It looked like some Bond villain lair, all sleek angles, doors sealed like a bank vault, security dudes with that "I can ruin your career with one phone call" energy. This it? Leo muttered, forehead pressed to the dusty bus window. The tech sergeant across the aisle snorted. "Welcome to the B-21, kid. Don't touch nothing. Don't say nothing. And if someone asks, you work HVAC." Leo laughed, but his chest was tight. He'd been grinding in the flightline world for years, wrenching on old B-1s that leaked hydraulic fluid like they were crying about the Cold War. Half the time, parts were backordered, and the jets were hanging on with duct tape and prayers. Then, out of nowhere, his commander called him in. "You got picked up for a special assignment, Martinez. High visibility program. You keep your nose clean. This could change your whole career." Translation: you messed this up, you're cooked. Now here he was, stepping off a bus into desert heat that hit like a hair dryer to the face, watching a row of shiny new security cameras track him like he owed them money. A B-21 Raider, the ghost bomber, as everyone online called it, slept somewhere inside that building. Rumor was, Congress had just dropped another fat stack of cash on the program. Almost $1 billion extra. Bases were getting new facilities, fancy simulators, hardware that didn't break every Tuesday. Money like that didn't just mean airplanes. It meant jobs, movement, real momentum. "Martinez," he snapped to as his new supervisor walked up. Major Ellis, mid-30s, too fit, haircut so sharp it probably had its own security clearance. "You're my new crew chief, right?" The major asked, shoving his sunglasses up. "Yes, sir." "You ever work stealth before?" "No, sir. Just B-1s and, good. Less bad habits." The major jerked his thumb toward the hangar. "Come on. Ghost doesn't like to be kept waiting." Ghost. Leo followed, boots crunching on the gravel. His heartbeat was wild, like he was about to see a celebrity. Except this celeb could sneak through the most advanced radar in the world and drop a very bad day on whoever pissed off the United States that week. Inside the hangar, the air was cool and dry. The smell was different, cleaner. None of that old jet fuel funk he was used to. Everything was white, polished, organized. Tools were lined up like soldiers. Screens glowed. People moved quietly, heads down, focused. Then he saw it. The B-21 sat in the middle of the hangar, half shrouded under a cover. But even with just its nose and forward fuselage exposed, Leo felt his brain stutter. It looked wrong and right at the same time. Like a B-2 in a spaceship had a baby and told it to never be seen unless it wanted to. "Holy," Leo whispered. "Yeah," Major Ellis said with a little smirk. "She hits different, huh?" Leo walked closer, not touching, just circling. The jet's surfaces almost absorbed the light. No rivets, no rough edges. Everything blended, smooth as glass. It didn't scream power like a B-1. It whispered threat. "Sir, is it true?" Leo asked. "They really pumped another billion into this thing?" Ellis nodded. "Shutdown deal bought us more infrastructure, sims, mission planning, support. We're not just buying airplanes anymore. We're buying an ecosystem." Leo whistled. $1 billion was a number he couldn't really process. His mom still coupon shopped for cereal. "So what does that mean for us?" Ellis looked up at the massive ceiling for a moment, like he was trying to word it right. "It means, Martinez, we're not just keeping jets running." He turned to Leo, eyes sharp. "We're building the backbone of how America fights the next big war. Pacific, Europe, wherever. This bird, she goes first. She kicks the door in." Leo swallowed. Yeah, no pressure. But as he stood there, staring at the ghost bomber, something inside him flipped. This wasn't just another assignment. This wasn't just more busted knuckles and shift work. This was history in progress. And whether he liked it or not, he was in. The first sign the money was real wasn't a press release. It was Porta Potty's point one Monday. Leo showed up for swing shift, and the access road was jammed. Traffic. Out here. In the middle of nowhere. He leaned over the steering wheel, squinting. Construction trucks. Cranes. A whole convoy of contractors rolling past the gate like this was some big city job site. The guard scanned his badge and smirked. "Better get used to it, Martinez. You're about to have neighbors." By next week, the empty stretch of desert across from the B-21 hangar was a forest of steel beams and scaffolding. New sim building. New intel facility. Some kind of mission planning center with insane fiber optic lines being buried like secret roots under the sand. Yo, Leo, check this out, his buddy Deshaun said, pulling up a news article on his phone during lunch. Congress came through, man. Almost a bill just for B-21 and its little ICBM friend. Leo slurped his coffee. You say that like they wired it to my bank account. Deshaun laughed. Bro, you see your tools lately? New torque wrenches, calibrated, in the drawer, like they're supposed to be. Last base I was at, we shared one between 4 jets. Had to fight dudes for it. He wasn't wrong. Stuff was different here. Supply didn't feel like begging anymore. If you put in a request, things actually showed up. Brand new stands, safety gear. Even the laptops they used to input maintenance were fresh out the box instead of some crusty Windows relic that froze every other click. The money wave wasn't just gear. It was people. New pilots showed up, some with thousands of hours in legacy jets, some fresh from training. All of them walking around with that. I'm flying classified stuff, and I can't tell you how cool it is face. New intel folks, cyber nerds, engineers with laptops covered in stickers, things like Wi-Fi on the flight line, and trust the process, not the PowerPoint. In the break room, the vibe flipped. The older guys who'd seen budget cuts and sequestration were shocked. This is different, Master Sergeant Vega said one night, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. I've been in since the Bush days. Money comes, money goes. But they're treating this B-21 thing like a moon landing. Like they're scared of being late. Late for what? Leo asked. Vega looked at the TV mounted in the corner, muted but running news footage of a Chinese carrier group in the Pacific. That, he said. World ain't slowing down for us, kid. Out on the line, under the hangar lights, Leo could feel it. Every time he touched the jet, running checks, inspecting panels, logging actions, he understood a little more. This wasn't some vanity project. This was the tip of the spear for a world where whoever owned the night skies owned the first move point one evening. As the sun went down and painted the mountains blood orange, Major Ellis called the crew together. Listen up, he said, hands in his pockets. Because of the new funding, our timeline just moved up. Sim building will be operational 6 months earlier than planned. We're getting 2 more airframes here, plus a dedicated B-21 mission planning cell. Someone low-key cursed under their breath. More jets meant more work. Ellis heard it and smirked. Yeah, I know, more babysitting. But this is what we signed up for. The rest of the world is not waiting around while we debate budgets. You think China's sitting there like, let's give them time to catch up? Nah, they're grinding. So are we. Leo felt a weird mix of pride and stress. On one side, hell yeah, we're part of something big. On the other, if this program stumbled, it'd be on headlines, on hearings, on late-night talk shows. Later that night, as he walked past the construction area, he stopped. Noise had died down. The cranes were still. In the moonlight, steel skeletons of new buildings rose out of the desert. Sharp and dark, he tried to picture what it'd look like finished. Pilots walking into sims that mirrored the cockpit exactly. Intel teams feeding real-time data into missions. Maintainers rotating through training that didn't involve ancient PowerPoint slides from 2009. He exhaled slowly. Okay, Ghost, he murmured to the silent bomber under the hangar lights. Guess we gotta be worth all this, huh? The jet, as usual, didn't answer. But the desert wind did, blowing hot and dry over the growing, glowing base. The first time Leo realized just how political his jet was, it wasn't from a general, or a briefing, or a classified meeting. It was from C-SPAN. The squadron had the TV on during a lull in work. And one of the senior chiefs was flipping channels when he landed on a live hearing, senators grilling. Pentagon officials like they were on trial. We've already invested tens of billions into the B-21 program. One senator was saying, waving a stack of papers. Now you're back here asking for more. In the middle of a shutdown deal? What do I tell my constituents? Leo paused with his sandwich halfway to his mouth. Yo, that's us, Deshaun said around a mouthful of chips. We famous. On the screen, a 4-star in dress blues looked unbothered. Senator, with respect, your constituents are living under the same strategic reality as mine. Our adversaries aren't cutting their modernization programs. If we stop now, We lose time we don't have. Leo felt a small chill. That adversary's line. They always said it like it was some faceless enemy. But everyone knew who they meant. The big players with anti-access systems, satellites, ballistic missiles that made planners lose sleep. What they don't get, Vega muttered from his seat, is that you can't just pause the future. You either build it or someone else does. A day later, the fallout hit the base in the form of a visit, a delegation of VIPs. Not just brass, civilians, staffers, political aides, important-looking men and women with crisp suits and practiced smiles. The kind of people who'd never turned a wrench in their lives but could cut a program with one bad report. Martinez, Ellis said, catching him by the tool crib. You're on show intel today. Sir, we're walking them through the hangar. Keep your area squared away. Answer if they ask. No jokes about Area 51. And for the love of God, don't say anything about aliens. Copy that. Sir, when the VIPs came through, everything snapped into inspection mode. Floors spotless. Tools lined up. Tech orders stacked perfectly. The B-21 itself gleamed under the lights, uncovered for once. Like a panther let out of the cage just long enough to scare people. One of the civilians. A woman with sharp eyes and a tablet stopped near Leo. So you work this jet every day? She asked. Yes, ma'am, he said. What's the difference between this and the older bombers? Besides it looking like it came out of a sci-fi movie. Leo thought about it. He could say the usual stuff: stealth, survivability, range, advanced systems. The canned phrases they fed them in briefings. But the question hit deeper. Ma'am, with the B-1s, half our job was just keeping them alive, he said slowly. They're old. They're loud. We love M, but they're tired. This thing, he nodded toward the ghost. This thing feels like we're finally working on something built for the fight we actually think we're going to have, not the one our parents were scared of. She raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning. The world changed, ma'am. Radar got better. Missiles got smarter. The bad guys got longer reach. We can't roll up to a modern air defense zone like it's 1991 and hope they miss. This jet, it's made to slip in where we're not invited, do what it needs to do, and dip before anyone knows what happened. The woman stared at the jet for a long second. And the extra funding? You think it's worth it? He almost said, Lady, I make enlisted pay. I don't see that money. But he swallowed it. Yes, ma'am, he said instead. If we're going to send people into harm's way, I'd rather they go in with something like this than hope the old stuff still works. She nodded slowly, typed something into her tablet, and moved on. After the tour, Ellis clapped Leo on the shoulder. Good answer, Martinez. Think it matters, sir? It all matters, Ellis said. They go back. They write memos. They brief senators who decide whether we get more hangars or more band-aids. The jet doesn't just have to fly. The story has to fly too. That night, Leo lay in his dorm room, phone screen glowing in the dark, scrolling through headlines. B-21 costs questioned amid budget fight. New bomber or budget buster? Is the B-21 worth the price tag? He sighed, tossed the phone on his chest. People online argued like it was a football team. Some said the U.S. needed the ghost bomber to stay ahead. Others said the money should go to schools, healthcare, literally anything else that he got it. He really did. But he also thought about the sims they were building. The pilots training to fly into defended airspace. The maintainers learning a jet that could make or break the opening days of a future war. He stared at the ceiling. Yeah, he muttered to nobody. It's worth it. Because if the day ever came when some president said, launch the bombers, he wanted those crews to have the best damn shot of coming home. And right now, that shot looked a lot like the pale, sharp silhouette sleeping in his hangar, paid for by arguments, votes, and a whole lot of zeros in a budget bill. They always said the B-21 Raider was built for the first night of the next war, but nobody ever explained what the practice for a night like that looked like. Turns out, it looked like chaos, organized chaos, but still chaos. The kind that made your heart sprint and your brain ask if it updated its will lately. It started at 0200 at not early morning, not before sunrise. No, straight up pitch black. Air Force witching hour. When normal people are sleeping and maintainers are questioning their career choices. Leo woke to his phone blaring the recall tone. Not the normal notification. The ugly one. The one nobody liked hearing because it always meant something big was going down. He blinked at the screen. Raider alert. All crew chiefs report to Hangar 12 immediately. Signed, Ellis. He sat up fast, adrenaline kicking in before his feet even hit the floor. Across the dorm hall, doors were slamming open. Voices echoing. Boots hitting tile. It sounded like a dorm full of people who suddenly realized, oh crap, our lives matter today. Deshaun appeared in the hallway, shirt half on. Bro, what the hell did you do? Me. Leo grabbed his boots. Why is it always me? They sprinted to the parking lot and tore toward the hangar in separate cars. When Leo pulled up, the whole place was glowing bright like someone had flipped the base to high alert mode. Trucks everywhere. Security stacked deep. People running but trying to look like they weren't running. He flashed his badge to the gate guard. The guard scanned it, frowned, scanned again. You crew chief Martinez? Yes, airman. The guard gave a short nod. Good luck tonight. Leo's stomach dropped. Tonight? That meant whatever was happening wasn't going away in 10 minutes. Inside, the hangar was a different world. The jet, the ghost, was uncovered. Lights shining across its skin like it was already in motion. Dozens of people moving around it. Weapons troops rolling in munitions carts. Avionics running last-second diagnostics. Pilots suited up in gear so new it practically squeaked. Major Ellis stood at the center of the chaos. Headset on, waving people into position. Martinez, get over here. Leo jogged over. Sir, what's going on? Ellis didn't waste time. We're running a full-up launch profile. No scripts. No walkthrough. This is the first live ordnance, long-range mission sim for the B-21. 50-plus hour profile. Tankers, satellites, cyber, the whole damn orchestra. Leo blinked. 50 hours? As in 2 days? Welcome to Deep Strike Doctrine, kid. Ellis shoved a tablet into his hands. Task, pre-flight full systems. Confirm stealth coating's integrity. Verify weapons bay readiness. Triple check landing gear torque values. Ensure thermal signature dampeners calibrated. Leo skimmed it. Sir, this is like 8 hours of work. You have 2. Ellis said flatly 0.2 hours. 2 before the Ghost would take off with live missiles. Fly a route that mimicked dodging foreign radars. Hit simulated targets halfway across the world. Refuel 4 times, then sneak home. Leo took a deep breath. Okay, yeah, I can do it. Good, Ellis said, clapping his shoulder once. Because the whole Pentagon is watching this one. The checklist from hell for the next 90 minutes. Leo was in full tunnel vision. Every bolt, every panel, every cable. He checked them like he was defusing a bomb. The stealth skin panels needed extra care. If one was misaligned by even a millimeter, radar cross-section could spike. And if that happened on a real mission, you'd basically be saying, "Hi, enemy radar. Hope your missiles are having a good day." He ran his conductive gloves across the coating. Smooth. Seamless. He switched to thermal dampeners. Tapping the diagnostic panel. Green. 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 Next, Weapons Bay .2 members of the munitions crew rolled in a guided payload, training version. But still deadly enough to ruin your career if you mishandled it. Martinez, one of them said with a grin. You ready to babysit the most expensive flying iPhone on Earth? Screw you, Leo laughed. This thing has more attitude than an iPhone. They locked the payload into place. The weapons bay doors whispered shut with a sound so soft, so clean, so smooth, that it gave Leo chills. Unlike his old B-1 days, where the bay doors clunked like someone dropped a trash can. Next came avionics checks, cables plugged in, screens scrolling, data flowing like a waterfall. The Raiders' systems booted silently, no loud fans or whirs, just smooth digital heartbeat, sounds that felt alive. Leo whispered, "You ready to wake up, girl?" The jet almost looked like it heard him. The pilots arrive, everyone stepped aside as 2 pilots walked in, helmets under arms. Calm like they were about to play a round of golf instead of fly a stealth bomber halfway around the planet. Captain Rhodes, one of the pilots, nodded at Leo. Crew chief, how's our girl? Sir, she's mad at me for waking her up early, but she's good to go. Rhodes grinned. That's what I like to hear. A colonel walked in behind them, in full gear. Leo blinked. Wait, you're flying too, sir. The colonel nodded. Congress paid for a $1 billion boost. We're about to show them why. Ellis walked up, clapping his hands. All right, people, listen up. Everyone quieted. This is the largest scale B-21 integration test to date. We're validating deep strike logistics, real-time satellite coordination, and multi-domain connectivity. You all know the stakes. We nail this. We keep our funding. We stumble, he paused. Well, we're not stumbling. Aircrew saluted. Maintainers stepped back. This was it. The moment where the Ghost bomber stopped being a project and became a weapon. The rollout, the hangar door began to open. The wind swept in, hot and dry, carrying the smell of dust and jet fuel. The desert outside was pitch black except for floodlights lining the taxi route. The B-21 sat there like a shark in the water. Silent. Deadly. Built for darkness, Ellis signaled. Crew chief, take her out. Leo swallowed, grabbed the marshalling wands, and walked forward. He always thought stepping out in front of a massive bomber would feel terrifying, like standing in front of a beast. But the Ghost wasn't like that. It didn't roar. It didn't rattle. It didn't tower over you like the old jets that IT glided. When the pilots powered up the engines, Leo expected noise but got a hum, a low whisper, like the jet was saying, "Shoo, don't tell anyone I'm awake." He walked backward, guiding the aircraft with precise arm movements. Left, straight, hold, taxi. The Ghost rolled past him, its matte surface absorbing every drop of light. Seeing it outside the hangar felt unreal, like watching a classified creature emerge into the wild for the first time. Deshawn jogged up beside him. Bro, look at her. I am, Leo whispered. And I still don't believe it. The takeoff to end all takeoffs over the headset. Ellis gave the confirmation. Raider 1. Tower clears you for takeoff. Wind calm. Runway all yours. The B-21 lined up. Nose pointed into the desert night, like it saw something far away none of them could. There was a long silence. Then the engines spooled higher. Not loud, not dramatic, but powerful enough that the ground beneath Leo's boots trembled. The jet began to roll. Faster. 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 Its landing lights sliced through the darkness. The IT lifted quietly, almost too gracefully. No thunderous roar. No shaking windows. Just a smooth, spectral rise into the night that IT had barely left the ground before it disappeared into the black sky. Swallowed whole like it was built for the darkness. Everyone stared upward. Deshawn broke the silence. Bro, she literally ghosted. Leo laughed, shaking his head. Of course she did. Hours later, the moment they all held their breath, the mission went on. And on. And on point 50 hours simulating war. 50 hours testing the invisible, satellites pinging. Tankers refueling. Cyber teams fending off simulated attacks. Operators monitoring radar returns. Barely any. Because the Ghost didn't like being seen. Leo slept maybe 1 hour over 2 days. On the last day, a voice crackled over the radio. Raider 1 returning to base. Mission success. The hangar exploded in cheers. Even the usually cold-looking colonels cracked smiles. But Leo? He just exhaled. Long, deep, heavy, because he finally understood something. The $1 billion wasn't for the jet. It wasn't even for the technology. IT was for this moment. The moment the United States proved it still had the ability to punch through the hardest defenses on Earth without being touched, tracked, or even seen. When the B-21 rolled back into the hangar hours later, its surface still cool, its angles still sharp, Leo walked beside it, hand brushing lightly along its skin. Welcome home, Ghost, he whispered, and for the first time since joining the program, he didn't feel like a maintainer. He didn't feel like a mechanic. He felt like part of something that would rewrite the future. 3 weeks after the 50-hour mission, when life on base was finally settling back into the usual rhythm of long shifts, bad coffee, and even worse sarcasm, the world decided to flip the table. It was a Monday, because of course it was, and Leo had barely clocked in when the base PA system barked out a tone he'd never heard before. Not a drill tone, not an inspection tone. This one cut through the hangar like a blade. All personnel report to designated stations. Repeat. All personnel report. The whole place froze. Even the Ghost bomber itself seemed to pause, like it was listening. Ellis stormed into the maintenance bay, phone to his ear, face tight. Everyone on deck now. Martinez, you're with me. There was no joking in his voice, not even the usual sarcasm. Leo's stomach knotted as he jogged beside him. Something was off. Something big. Inside the operations building, the atmosphere felt electric and wrong. Screens were lit up everywhere. Pacific maps, satellite feeds, live intelligence windows with red banners. Pilots were running, intel officers talking fast into headsets, generals moving like they had rockets strapped to their backs. Deshawn caught up to Leo, eyes wide. Yo, what is happening? Before Leo could answer, a massive screen switched to a news feed. A headline flashed in bright red. Breaking: U.S. surveillance aircraft intercepted over Pacific region on high alert. The anchor spoke quickly, barely keeping up. Sources confirm an incident involving U.S. forces and a foreign air defense system near the South China Sea. Pentagon officials have escalated readiness levels as tensions rise. The feed cut back to a military press room, journalists shouting. Then, footage, grainy, shaky, taken from a long-range sensor. A U.S. reconnaissance drone spiraling down, trailing smoke, crashing into the ocean. Leo felt his pulse spike. Oh hell. Ellis snapped his fingers at them. This isn't a drill. This might become the real thing. He pulled Leo and Deshawn into a briefing room that was already filling with aircrew and maintainers. The squadron commander stood at the front. A grim, battle-tested colonel who looked like he ate stress for breakfast. Listen up, he said, voice booming over the noise. 2 hours ago, one of our surveillance assets was fired upon in disputed waters. Washington is treating this as a direct escalation. The president has ordered a forward-deployed bomber readiness package. Our B-21 is on that list. A hush fell. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. A readiness package was rare, extremely rare. But sending the B-21? That meant the situation wasn't just hot. It was boiling. The colonel continued, tapping the map. If this goes sideways, the B-21 fleet will be the first to respond. Deep strike, standoff, stealth penetration, whatever the mission calls for. The ghost bombers go in first, or nobody goes in at all. He looked directly at Leo and Deshawn. Your jet needs to be mission-capable by nightfall. No excuses. No delays. Leo nodded, throat dry. Nightfall. 8 hours. He'd done it before, but that was for a test. This was different. This felt like standing on the front step of history, waiting for the door to slam open. Back in the hangar, the Raider looked different. Not physically, same angles, same eerie matte finish, but the energy around it had shifted. Every person who walked by moved quicker, spoke louder, worked sharper. The ghost felt like an animal being saddled for war. Leo approached the aircraft, toolbox in hand. He exhaled slowly. Guess it's showtime again, huh? For once, he could almost swear the jet answered. A silent, predatory calm that he started the inspection checklist, fingers flying over panels and connectors. Fuel lines, hydraulic pressures, thermal absorbers, internal power diagnostics. Everything checked out, but he wasn't satisfied. Not today. Today had zero tolerance for good enough. As he crawled under the belly of the jet, flashlights sweeping across the seams of the weapons bay, he heard footsteps. Major Ellis crouched beside him. How's she looking? Leo didn't stop working as he answered. Like she knows she might actually be needed. Ellis nodded. Good. Because this time she might be. Outside, the desert heat baked the runway into a shimmering mirage, but inside the hangar was cool and tense. Crew after crew cycled through. Avionics, weapons, comms, stealth techs, cybersecurity. A colonel from DC arrived, demanding updates every 15 minutes. Fuel trucks lined up like it was rush hour. Even the base commander came down at one point. Rare, which meant stakes were high enough to punch through the usual chain of command. Deshawn worked beside Leo, tightening bolts, checking sensors. Man, I didn't sign up to start World War III on a Monday, he muttered. Leo half-smiled despite the stress. Bro, you signed up for the Air Force. Mondays are always dangerous. By mid-afternoon, intel teams set up a command post right inside the hangar. Satellite feeds scrolled across the screens, showing movement of ships, aircraft, radar sites. A tense standoff forming like a storm front. Rhodes, the pilot from the 50-hour mission, walked in wearing his flight suit, helmet under his arm. Crew chief, he called, talk to me. Is my girl ready? Leo wiped sweat from his forehead. She will be, sir. What's the mission profile? Rhodes shrugged one shoulder. Above my pay grade. But rumor says they're prepping for a show of force flight. Long range, high stealth, right up to the edge of someone's airspace. Leo felt a chill. A show of force was basically the military version of do something. I dare you. Hours passed. The sun slid lower, painting the hangar in deep amber light. Leo checked the time. 17:30, nightfall approaching. They were almost done, just the final low observable coating check. The most tedious, delicate part. He slipped on special gloves and moved along the jet's surface in slow, precise motions. Every inch mattered. Literally. A tiny imperfection could spike radar visibility at the worst moment. Halfway through, a call echoed across the hangar. Attention, stand by for possible launch order. The whole place froze. Pilots stopped talking. Aircrew stopped moving. Even tools seemed to fall quiet. For 10 seconds, silence crushed the room. Then a voice came on again. Update in 10 minutes. Just like that, motion resumed, but faster, sharper, anxious energy humming through everyone. Leo worked harder. Faster, but still careful. His hands moved like he had been born doing this. For the first time in his career, he felt the weight of what maintainers never got enough credit for. Pilots fly history, but maintainers prepare it. The 10-minute mark arrived. The PA system clicked. Everyone braced. Attention, presidential authorization for bomber readiness. Confirmed. Launch window open. Cruise to aircraft. The hangar erupted. Pilots sprinted toward the Ghost. Intel teams pushed final data packets to the mission system. Fuel lines detached. Power carts rolled back. The quiet, ghostly bomber suddenly became the center of the military universe. Ellis jogged up to Leo. "You're certified complete, right?" Leo nodded. "Signed off 5 minutes ago." Ellis grabbed him by the shoulder. "Then get out there and marshal her. This is the most important taxi job of your entire career." Leo swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." He grabbed the wands, stepped out into the open taxiway. The sky was darkening, streaks of purple and orange fading into black. The Raider rolled forward slowly, engines whispering like a predator clearing its throat. Leo guided her with steady arms, every movement crisp. The pilots taxied her into position, nose pointed at the runway like an arrow aimed at the Pacific, over the radio. Tower gave the clearance. "Raider 1, you are authorized for departure." The engines surged, not loud, not dramatic, just a rising, focused power that made the hairs on Leo's neck stand up. The jet rolled forward. Faster, faster. Then she lifted, smooth, effortless, ghostly, and climbed into the night. Leo watched until she vanished. Not into the clouds, not into distance, into invisibility. That was the part that always got him. One moment she was there, the next she simply wasn't, like she slipped between the cracks of reality. Back in the hangar, the giant screens tracked the flight. A faint line, a blip, then nothing. Stealth mode. Invisible. Undetectable. Hours passed. Every now and then, a whispered update floated through the room. Raider 1 maintaining course. No radar lock detected. Foreign fighters scrambled, negative contact. Mission holding. In the operations center, Ellis leaned beside Leo, arms crossed. "This is what the money was for," he said quietly. "This exact moment. A bomber that can fly right up to the front door of an enemy fleet and make them think twice." Leo nodded, eyes still fixed on the screens. "You think this'll calm things down?" Ellis sighed. "If the world has any sense, yeah? But sense is in short supply lately." A few tense hours later, the voice came over comms. Raider 1 returning to base. Relief swept the room like a wave. Maintainers clapped. Pilots exhaled. Even commanders looked a little taller. When the Ghost finally reappeared over the horizon and touched down, rolling to a smooth stop outside the hangar, Leo walked up to it as the engines wound down. Rhodes stepped out of the cockpit, helmet tucked under his arm, sweat on his brow. He walked straight to Leo, extended a fist. "She flew perfect," he said. "Couldn't have done it without you." Leo bumped his fist. "Just doing my job, sir." "Not tonight," Rhodes replied. "Tonight you did a hell of a lot more." As the jet cooled under the desert stars, Leo placed a hand on its surface. Warm, but steady. The crisis wasn't over. The world was still tense. But for one night, the Ghost bomber had walked into the storm and walked back out untouched. And Leo realized something deep in his chest. The B-21 wasn't just America's newest bomber. It was a message, a shadow that said, "We're here. We're ready. Think carefully." The week after the Pacific crisis felt like living inside a pressure cooker. The news wouldn't shut up about high tensions, possible retaliation, global markets reacting. Politicians ran their mouths. Analysts speculated. Twitter was having a meltdown. But on base, Behind the fences and the no-phone zones and the steel doors that locked with satisfying clunks, a strange kind of calm settled in. People worked faster, talked less, listened more. The kind of quiet that comes after almost doing something irreversible. Leo tried to fall back into routine, but something inside him had shifted. He'd helped launch jets before. He'd watched aircraft take off into wars he never saw. But this was the first time he felt the edge of history scrape right past his face. The ghost bomber wasn't just a project to him anymore. It was a responsibility, a weight, a living thing that trusted him with its bones. And after that night, he couldn't stop replaying the thought. What if it had been a real strike? What if the order had been shoot? 3 days later, while helping Deshawn fold up the portable ground power cart cables, Leo got summoned to Ellis's office. "Great," Deshawn whispered. "Someone finally complained about your haircut." Leo shot him a look and jogged across the hangar. Ellis's office was small, bare walls, metal desk, a map of the Pacific pinned up. He was sitting with his hands clasped, eyes locked on Leo as he walked in. "Close the door." Not a good start. Leo closed it quietly. "Sir, what's up?" Ellis leaned back. "You tired?" "Little bit," Leo admitted. "You stressed?" "Little bit more." "You thinking too much about things you can't control?" Leo blinked. "Okay, yeah. How'd you know?" Ellis cracked a wry smile. "Because I used to be the guy doing exactly what you're doing. You run missions like this long enough, and eventually one hits different. This one hit you." Leo didn't deny it. "Sir, that night felt real." "It was real. But I mean, like real. Ellis nodded slowly. "And that's why you're here. Not because you messed up. Not because you're in trouble. But because you're stepping into the part of the job nobody prepares you for. The mental side. The weight." "What weight?" Ellis pointed to the massive hangar outside his window. "The weight of knowing that if that jet goes to war, the crew flying it is relying on you. Their lives are tied to your torque settings, your skin panel checks, your signatures." He paused, eyes heavy. "A bomber crew chief carries more ghosts than any aircraft." The words hit deep, like Ellis had just punctured something Leo didn't know he was holding inside. Before Leo could speak, Ellis added, "There's more." He stood and walked to the wall, grabbing a folder. He handed it to Leo. Thick. Official. The scary kind. "Congratulations, Martinez. You're being recommended for Special Access Maintainer Certification. SAP level clearance. You'll be on the short list for deep mission crews." Leo blinked hard. "Sir, what?" "Me." "Yes, you." Ellis crossed his arms. "You've proven you can handle pressure. You've proven you can work on the ghost like it's part of you. And after the Pacific event, Command took note of how quickly you adapted under alert conditions. Pilots specifically requested you on their crew line." Leo didn't know what to say. His throat tightened. "I thank you, sir." "Don't thank me. Just don't screw it up." Leo smiled despite the nerves. "Yes, sir." As he left the office, folder tucked under his arm, the hangar suddenly felt different again. Not bigger, not louder, just heavier in the way a place feels when you realize you belong there. The call that changes everything 2 nights later, at 1:27 a.m., Leo's phone buzzed. Not an alert tone this time, just a normal call. But the number was Ellis's. He answered fast. "Sir, get dressed. Ops building. Now." No explanation. No tone. Just urgency. Leo threw on his uniform, sprinted to his car, and tore across the base. When he walked into Ops, he expected chaos. But instead he found something worse. Silence. The kind of silence that feels like a held breath. The screens were lit again, Pacific maps, satellite imagery. But the vibe was different. Not panic. Not reaction. Preparation. Ellis walked up, jaw tight. "We got a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where the president wants options." Leo's blood chilled. "Is the situation worse?" "Maybe. Maybe not. Depends on what intel says. But what matters is this. The B-21 fleet has been put on strategic alert." Leo swallowed. "All of them. All of them." Then he pointed to the screen. A satellite image zoomed in on a contested island chain. Military vessels. Aircraft. Something brewing. Command is drawing up a potential first-night strike package. Leo felt his breath catch. A first-night strike meant one thing. The ghost bomber would go first. "Sir, are we talking war?" Ellis held his eyes for a long moment. Then he said something that wasn't in any manual. "We're talking about the moment history flips a coin. The ghost asks for blood." Leo was assigned to the night's final prep. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't a test. Every system he touched could decide whether a pilot lived or died. He ran every check twice, some 3 times. The Raider stood in the center of the hangar like something ancient and dangerous. Lights reflected off its skin like moonlight off dark water. As Leo finished the stealth coding scan, he stepped back and stared. Something about the jet felt different tonight. Not alive exactly, but aware, like it knew what was being asked of it. He whispered under his breath, "You ready for this?" The ghost, silent and perfect, gave no answer. But for the first time, Leo didn't imagine the bomber as a machine. He imagined it as a soldier. One built in a lab, raised in darkness, trained in secrecy, fed billions of dollars and millions of man-hours. A soldier that only existed so others might live. Maybe that was why they called it the Ghost. It wasn't meant to be seen. It was meant to haunt. The decision hours later, the entire Raider wing stood ready. Pilots suited up. Maintainers lined the walls. Commanders pacing like caged wolves. The jets hummed softly, engines warming, the air vibrating with potential violence. Then the PA clicked on. All personnel, stand by for strategic command update. No one breathed. Update from National Command Authority. Leo clenched his fists. Bomber fleet is to hold position. No strike authorization. Stand down from wartime action stations. Maintainers remain on readiness. A massive wave of relief crashed across the room. Pilots slumped. Commanders exhaled. Aircrew leaned on walls. Someone in the back said, "Thank God." Deshawn whispered, "We were about to go full apocalypse mode, bro." Leo didn't answer. He just stared at the Ghost. The bomber was still warm, still humming, still waiting, still ready. Aftermath 2 days later, the crisis began to de-escalate. Diplomats met. Ships backed off. Statements cooled. Markets calmed. The world stepped back from the cliff edge. But something fundamental had changed, not out there, in the world, but inside Leo. He'd felt the burden, the fear, the pride, the responsibility of sending a machine into the dark so pilots could come home. He'd felt the weight of almost launching a jet that could rewrite the world. And he realized something else too. The B-21 Raider wasn't a weapon of war. It was a weapon of prevention. It existed so no one would dare cross the line. So no one would start a fight they couldn't finish. So the quiet moments stayed quiet. The Ghost wasn't America's shadow. It was America's warning. The night ends where it began at the end of a long shift. Leo walked the hangar alone. The Ghost sat powered down, cool and still, like nothing had happened. He placed his hand on its nose, feeling the smooth composite surface. "You did good," he whispered. "Even if you didn't have to fly." The jet remained silent. But tonight, that silence felt like gratitude. As he walked toward the exit, Ellis stepped out of the shadows, hands in his pockets. "Couldn't sleep either?" "No, sir." Ellis nodded. "That's how it starts." "You did good, Martinez. Real good." "Sir, what happens next?" Ellis looked at the Ghost bomber, then at the distant runway, then back at Leo. "What happens next?" he repeated softly. "We get ready for the next crisis. And the next. And the next. Because that's what this jet was built for." Then he clapped Leo's shoulder. "Go home. Get rest. You earned it." Leo walked out into the cool desert night. Stars overhead. Silence around him. And the knowledge, heavy, comforting, terrifying, that the world would never know how close it came. But he would. And the Ghost would.